103 years ago, the Palestinians were abandoned when our then Foreign Secretary decided unilaterally to facilitate the establishment of a new state for one people in another people's homeland. In 1948, the Palestinians were abandoned when that state was established, and in 1967 they were abandoned again when much of their remaining homeland was lost, leading to the occupation that continues today. But this year, they haven't just been abandoned, they have also been ignored. And on the back of ignoring them, Israel's ignoring of international law has been rewarded, not punished, by political normalisation with two states in the region. We all want peace in the Holy Land, but when we are told that there are peace deals being announced without the Palestinians even being part of those deals, we should get real about whether peace is what we are really getting. Peace is too important to be missold. While Israel understandably pursues normalisation, we should remind all concerned that there is nothing normal about occupation. We found the lockdown due to COVID-19 incredibly difficult, with curfews, lack of freedom to travel and being cut off from family. But Palestinians living under Israeli military occupation have been under their own lockdown for so many decades. The argument being proposed is that these normalisation agreements with Bahrain and the UAE have halted annexation of even more Palestinian territories. But as my right honourable friend for Aberavan, who I thank for securing this debate, pointed out, they are continuing behind the scenes. But the Israeli Prime Minister has made no such guarantee in any case to his own Knesset, and he has been indicted already more than once for breach of trust as well as fraud. So why should we take anything he says at face value? Closer to home, we know from our experiences with the Good Friday Agreement that peace can only come when sworn enemies are seated around the table, not when only one side of the table has the chairs out. It is this experience that we should be sharing with the world in Britain's commitment to a safer, fairer world for all, including Israelis and Palestinians. The recent announcements coming from the UAE and Bahrain are significant to those states' relations with Israel, but are actually detrimental to peace between Israelis and Palestinians and for righting the wrongs committed during the military occupation. No normalisation effort with Israel is going to be real and genuine, let alone accepted by the peoples of the region more widely, without addressing the reasons why normalisation has escaped Israelis for so long, the occupation and the wrongs emanating from it.
Will my honourable friend give way?
Absolutely.
Does she agree with me that the Israeli government, despite what's recently happened, hasn't ruled out normalisation of annexation for the long term, that it's a temporary thing, and our government needs to make sure that this is not something the Israeli government continues to pursue as an agenda?
I thank my honourable friend for her intervention, and indeed she and I were in Palestine last year visiting the Palestinians, and we saw firsthand what happened. And I absolutely agree, and I'd go further in what my right honourable friend for Aberavan said earlier, that it's not even paused. The truth is, it still continues. In Northern Ireland, Madam Deputy Speaker, the truth is we would not have declared peace with the Irish just because Britain normalised full political relations with Dublin. Nor can the Israelis claim peace with the Arabs just because of deals struck in the UAE and Bahrain. Trade deals and PR stunts are one thing. Peace is completely different. Both Israelis and Palestinians deserve better than the status quo. Both the oppressor and the oppressed and their populations suffer through injustice. As Dr. D.H.A. Hellier at Rusi and Carnegie wrote last week, full normalisation for Israel does not require its government to set up diplomatic outposts in cities far away from Tel Aviv, but rather to come to an equitable and just settlement with the people of Palestine, from Gaza to Jerusalem to Ramallah. In the end, the normalisation of Israel in the region can only come through an acceptance on the ground by wider Arab public, including the people of Palestine, irrespective of the fanfare from the Trump administration. Madam Deputy Speaker, as we continue to pursue peace, we must ask who is peace for. It's not for the Emiratis, it's not for the Bahrainis, it's not even for us. It is for the Israelis and Palestinians. Anything that excludes one of them is nothing to do with peace. This is not about the art of a deal, especially when the artwork is counterfeit. It is about the rights of the oppressed, the occupied and the erased.